Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Brianna of Beauty Breezy. I'm going to be taking my fashion sketch and bringing it to life with fabric that I've designed and sent out to get custom printed. For my model, I'll be using my first and only smart doll at the moment. Cross your toes, maybe I can get my hands on another one because they're expensive. But I've been looking for them secondhand, so wish me luck and let's get into the process. First thing I do is I'm gonna trace all my patterns out because I didn't want to ruin them with holes in, pins. So I traced them out and then I pin them. I get to save the pattern that way because I worked too hard. No, in all actuality, I went on Etsy and they have these, what would you call them? Like acrylic molds of the top. So all you had to do was pattern make them. I thought that was really cool. And you contort the pattern to however you want. And I decided to go for a V-neck. And later on, you'll see how that has given me some trouble. It was a process, the finishing of the V-neck. You'll see that later on in the video. But if you're interested in learning the pattern making process, let me know in the comments and I'll show you and we can learn together, I guess, because I had to keep referring back to my textbook, but I guess that's what, just an associate's degree level in fashion will get you. It's a little misunderstanding, a little figuring things out. I had to watch, some other people's tutorials and videos and then figure out how to convert it to doll size and figure out how seam allowance works. Oh my God, that was the ticket. Later on, you don't know this because I'm professional at YouTube. I cut all these mistakes out, but I had to recut this pattern 3 times because I did not know how to finish the front. And let me tell you, trying to do this was one of my struggles. This could have been my 13 reasons why, but I've finished. Could have turned out better, but I literally used all that fabric up there that you'd be like, oh no, you could use that and figure this out, crack the code. No, I had to remake this top 3 times, and then by running out of fabric, I had to figure out how to finish the front, which you'll see in the process that it did give me some problems. Next part of prep will be prepping some bias tape. Prep, and you prep. Sorry, that reminds me of that Spider-Man reference. Would I ask you for a coffee with room for cream? No. First, I cut out a 1-inch bias tape. I fray check all the edges because clean finish is the only finish. Am I right? Ahem. Someone should back me up in the comments and tell me I'm right. Then I cut a corner so it can be led into the tool. I would say it's like a 45-degree angle, but I can see someone in the comments now going, she's so obtuse. I'm sorry. I know I still probably got that wrong, but it was funny. I press the bias tape as I pull it through the tool. Such a satisfying process this is. Now are you ready for some magic? Let's move the back out the way. Then with the 2 front pieces, we say the magic words. Please, please, please let this work. Come on. Oh, my bad. Let me try again. Bobbin. Yeah. I know. Seamless. With pinking shears, a little fray check, and bias tape for the edge, the inside and the bottom of the top is finished. Taking the Velcro the width of the seam allowance, I stick it to both sides of the shirt. Because I'm not a sewing master, I have to seam rip the shoulder. I wonder, do all sewers hate this part or is it just me? Then I use my bias tape and go around each sleeve. As you can see, I have used up all my bias tape because this is not the first shirt I made. I had to take it out from other shirts, then sew them together and attach them to the sleeve. Cutting and sewing the seam allowance was my first attempt at finishing the V-neck. Not a good idea. Once again, I had to seam rip that out. You live and you learn, Giving the shirt a good press, and measured my seam allowance, I decided to use Stitch Witch. Not the correct method, but it works. Then to protect the V, I put interfacing in the bottom. My idea was that it would help stabilize the V-neck. Press the seams in the direction I want them to go, draw the seam allowance at the shoulders, and then sew them closed. Contrary to the video's order, I actually started with the pants. I trace, pin, and cut the pattern. I actually used a pattern sloper that I bought off Etsy. I'll link it down below. Then widen the leg to make bell bottoms. Sew the darts first. You can hand sew it, but since I suck, I used the machine. Sew front to side front. Tip: I used a fine tip disappearing ink pen and drew my seam allowance. Then once I did that, I cut off the piece that extended out to try and even out the pants. Putting in the zipper was not hard, but not too sure how to really explain it, so I'll link the short that made it super easy for me to learn. Once the zipper is in, I press then cut the zipper to my preferred length. I pressed all of the pants so the seams lay in the direction I want them to. Then pressed my hem so later I know where to sew. Which leads me to another tip. Do the hem before you sew the pants leg closed. Pin the butt seam together, then draw the seam allowance and sew that up real quick. My bad if you can't see, my big head got in the way. Pin starting from one leg till you get to the other. Make sure the crotch lines up. Sorry for the bad angle once again. Trace your seam allowance from one leg to the other, then sew. While doing the fit check, I noticed that the pants could fit a little tighter, so I took it from the two back seams. I took it in about a seam allowance. I take my pinking shears and go at all the seam allowances, using fray check to clean and finish all my seams. Or if you have a serger, you could use that. That would be a lot faster. I left mine in storage. I know, smart place to put it. So this method will have to do. I almost forgot, before you sew this fabric, always do a practice test with your sewing machine. I ended up getting puckers on my pants because I didn't test it. If you were wondering where I get my designs printed, I normally use Spoonflower. This is not a sponsor. I use them a lot. But if you would like me to make my design public so you can get it, just let me know. Or you can get your own designs printed on all types of fabric. Taking the bias tape, I sew one side to the edge of the pants, finish sides together. Cut the seam allowance and press the fabric down. Then top stitch on the right side of the fabric. For the hem, I sew it at the seam allowance, then fold it over and sew it again. That was my easy way, not really the correct way, but it gets the job done. You can see me struggling to sew this in a circle. A better idea is to finish the hem before you close the pant leg. Now that the pants are done, just needs a hook and eye. I was so excited to do the hair. This process was a bit different for me because I'm used to dyeing human hair, not synthetic. But with the help of YouTube University, I was able to dye the hair efficiently using boiling water and Rit synthetic dye. I wrapped the hair around the cap. Well, I tried to anyways, till I got to the top. Every couple layers, I would cut to my preferred length, style it, and then continue to work my way up to the top. Where it did get a little hard was folding the hair, pressing it down to finish the top of the wig. If you don't blink, you could see me having to restart it again. I tie the hair down, and with the rest of the boiling water, I pour it on her head to try and get it to lay flat. Then I blow dry and style her hair. I think I needed a different glue method because using hot glue is not it. But for my first time, I'll give this wig a 7 out of 10. And yes, my wig stand is a water bottle and 2 skewers. Not all of us can have fancy stuff, you know? I'm new to this. I'm new. My hand sewing could use a lot of help, but there was no way around it. The pants needed a hook and eye. You can see how bad I am. I even got the thread tangled. I had big plans for the shoes. You will see in this video that they did not work out and I had to change my idea. Oh no, I just realized. God, I'm such a dummy. While doing this voiceover, my address was out the whole part of the video. So I tried to black it out. I'm so sorry, it's not smooth. I started by painting the bottom of the heels a berry color. This took about 3 layers to build up the color. In hindsight, I should have buffed the shoe first so that the paint would lay better. But when you're limited on supplies, you know what they say, just keep swimming. After printing out the template for the heel that I bought off Enchantarium's website, I cut out the left and the right pieces. This is where I would have to say reading is fundamental, and Pash Brianna would soon learn this lesson as she keeps referring back to the instructions and video. I have to tell you a secret. I gotta admit it. Let me get it off my chest. I, Brianna, am a visual and audio learner. Because this wouldn't be my first or my only mistake. The second would be that I didn't make sure when I printed the pattern to double check that they printed out the right size. That's why there's a measurement at the top, so you can realize that before you do all this work. I couldn't fix this mistake because for some reason my printer wouldn't print it correctly, and I didn't want to try to size it and make it way too big. Instead, I had to recut the shapes and put them to fabric again. The final problem was after rewatching Enchantarium's video, the Sam from Totally Spies, I realized, and you'll see how slow this was, she had arched feet. Yes, arched feet. I don't know how many times, and I mean, I've watched this video, that video, so many times. How did I not realize that? So ordering them was out of the question. They wouldn't come in time for me to finish this video. So instead, I scrapped the heels for another project. Instead, mold some flat bottoms and made her sandals instead. After my sandals were done, they still felt a little plain, so to add some more dimension, I added flowers and pearls. I think they came out so cute. I wish I could make me a pair. For the belt, I measured some thin wire around her waist, then just beaded the pearls around it. Twisting and closing the wire around the hook and eye was a bit difficult, but I managed. And with that, the look is done. If you've managed to stay this long, I want to say thank you. Going through this process was a lot of fun, even though it had its challenges. Jeez. I feel like there's a lot I still need to work on. It really helped me to focus on my finishings and cleaning up of the inside of my pieces, something I tend to struggle with when sewing. Oh wait, I didn't tell you my model's name. Let me introduce you to Ava Marie. My mom actually named her and I love it. If you could give a like, leave a comment on what I could do to improve my videos, editing, or even sewing, anything really, and subscribe, I would really be grateful. Me and Ava will see you guys in October for the next video. Bye for now.